Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Investor Financing Podcast Q&A session. We have Bill Davis here. We've got a couple questions to answer this evening, and let's get to it. Thanks, Bill.
All right. The first one comes from Thomas. He says, "Hey, Beau, I'm looking at purchasing a new PJ's Coffee franchise. My question is, what is the process for obtaining SBA 7A financing? From what I gather, it looks like total startup costs would be total estimated PJ's Coffee of New Orleans franchise cost of $406,000 to $1,024,000. Thanks."
Okay, very good. I think that was Thomas. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to check the SBA directory, and I believe PJ's is on there because I've seen this before and we've looked into financing a few. So that would be the check mark first. And then what we'd go into is obviously there's a range depending on locations of the total project cost. But typically, once we looked at it's approved on the directory, then it comes down to a component of your creditworthiness, your borrowing ability, and your equity that you would have to come up with. So typically, on a franchise startup, most banks are going to overlay and say you need anywhere from 15 to 20%. Although we have some banks we work with which will allow for 10% equity injection. So each bank is different. They overlay these franchise concepts depending on the franchise itself, how many unit count, how many units. PJ's is pretty established. I think they have over 100 units if I remember correctly. So an established franchise concept, usually the banks like those more than say a franchise concept that only has 10 or 15 units. So anyways, we add up total project costs. We look at your projections. So typically the franchisor will give you their business plan, their template, worksheet, and then you're going to complete it based on your location and your square footage and your traffic count essentially. And then you're going to build out your pro forma based on their tools and their data points that they give you. You're going to do your own due diligence, obviously, as you're talking to other franchise owners within the concept. Part of your due diligence process will be for you to go out and do a discovery day and also do what they call validation, where you're going to go and you're going to talk or even visit other franchisees at their stores and they're going to provide some input to you. So once you have all that down, right, and you're built out your total sources and uses, franchise fees, inventory, working capital, startup costs, inventory, equipment, all that, right? That's your total sources and uses. We stack on maybe some working capital in there, so you don't go in with no working capital. So we put some working capital first few months of employees' salaries in there, and that becomes your total project cost and also the SBA fees. So that would be your total project cost, and typically 10 to 20%, depending on the bank, depending on your strength as a borrower, is what the equity injection is going to look like. So when we talk about your strength, what strengthens you as the borrower would be because this is there's going to be a collateral shortfall. They're going to look for additional collateral. So anytime there's a collateral shortfall, SBA guidelines say you need to look for additional collateral. That could be a primary residence, that could be a secondary residence, it could be investment property. So if you had a lot of equity there, and you're strong in that capacity, they might put a second lien on that primary residence with $500,000 or $1 million of equity, right? That strengthens it. You have a 750 credit score. You're going to still keep your W-2 job, at least for the short term. This all strengthens it, right? You make $300,000 a year doing your sales job. You're also going to have this business. That all strengthens the deal. And then also it comes down to the actual vertical, the franchise concept itself. Does it have longevity? Does it have a lot of concepts? Is it a well-liked franchise company that these banks like? And coffee shops seem to do it. Restaurants are a little hit and miss. So at the end of the day, circling this all back, it's going to depend. But if you're strong and the concept's strong, 10% equity injection is probably where you're going to look.
Hi, this is Beau, host of the Investor Financing Podcast. Are you a real estate investor with properties and you're trying to figure out how to refinance or grow your existing real estate business? Need some clarity and a game plan for moving forward? I'm offering a free strategy call where we dive deep on your real estate investing goals. I'll help you come up with a strategic finance plan that will help you get to where you want to go. Whether you've got a portfolio of 30 properties or you're starting out with your first property, I have a framework that has helped many investors grow. If you're interested, book a call below in the Calendly link. Hey guys, Beau Eckstein here. If you enjoyed what you saw, please subscribe to this channel. We talk all things financing. I've been in the lending industry for over 20 years, and I'm happy to answer your questions and provide great content.